All right, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Paranormal Journals, only here on Black Mass Paranormal. Today, I wanted to kind of do a recap and talk about some things that you all have brought up in my recent feral video, and I wanted to give you all some insight on the research that I have done over the past several years on feral people. I wanted to kind of define some things and maybe clear some things up that I've noticed that people are commenting on and talking about. So first off, I wanted to define what my opinion of a feral person is and how this is happening and where this is happening. A lot of you all have commented, and I've seen this posted online from some other people talking about feral people just basically being drug addicts. In my opinion, that's not the case. That is not who I'm talking about. Because, yes, those people exist, and they do exist a lot in our major cities. It seems odd to us to be able to see people essentially completely break down to the point where, you know, they're like freezing in the streets. I think everybody has seen that now with the fentanyl crisis, and before that the meth crisis, and before that the heroin. You know, it's been an ongoing thing for decades. So I wanted to try to define exactly what I'm talking about and what I'm looking for, and the encounters that I have been addressing. Now, in my opinion, on the eastern side of the United States, most likely, in my opinion, the concentration of feral people are along that line that I've talked about many times in my videos. Like on the East Tennessee, North Carolina, I said a million times. There is a line that runs straight down that is a huge part of the Smoky Mountains, but also extends to a couple of different mountain chains heading further south. Now, do I think there are feral people living further north? It's possible. I wouldn't say that it's probable. I think that the further north you go, minus possibly some areas in like West Virginia, I think, I don't really see a lot of that happening. Now, I mentioned West Virginia for a very specific reason. In the area that I'm talking about is actually where Mothman is seen. There was a horrible Native American slaughter that occurred. So that is the reasoning behind why I think that there could be some there as well. Now, if we refer to David Pilates' work, he has really isolated a large portion of missing people within the Smoky Mountains area, North Carolina, and even in South Carolina. I feel like feral people play a large role in those disappearances. So I want to address, in my opinion, what a feral person is. So after doing this research for, you know, a long time now, and going out in the field and talking to people and going back and forth, I really feel like this situation with the feral people started around 1836 through 1839, as far as those being established in Appalachia. Now, feral people throughout the world have been documented going all the way back to King George I. Now, King George I actually had what he called a human pet. Peter was transported to London to specifically be King George's human pet. Now, he often paraded him around and used him as kind of like a prop. We also have another well-documented case of a human child that inspired the Jungle Book, and that is Danny Sanichar. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he was the wild boy that was found in India that was raised by wolves, and even though he was taken into civilized society, it's still he was not able to make that transition back into what we call a civilized mindset. He still struggled with speech. He struggled with interactions with people. It was a pretty complex case. So what I want to do in this video is address my opinions on how all of this went down. The feral people that I am talking about are those that have been living in the Appalachian Mountains for generations. I personally don't classify somebody who is living off of the grid or somebody who has basically just kind of stepped outside of civilized society, gone out into the woods, built a cabin, and is living out there. I don't really classify them as feral because of their mindset. I don't feel like they have that true feral mindset. Now, my kind of opinion on this has sort of gravitated recently towards this side of it. When I first started getting into this research, my general opinion was like a lot of you all that have commented and talked about somebody who in one lifetime could transition out of civilized society into the wild and therefore revert back to their natural instincts. Now, I don't personally feel like the psychiatric side of this could accomplish that. I also don't feel like the drunk side could accomplish this. I don't feel like the drug addict side could accomplish this. I feel like that drive and that need would not really be there. Now, it's possible. I'm not totally ruling it out, but what I'm trying to really kind of define what I'm doing here and what I'm saying. The idea of feral people living in the Appalachians started with the most documented case, well-known case. It started in 1969 with Dennis Martin. Now, Dennis Martin disappeared from Spence Field, basically right in front of his father. There was another group of vacationers that were out in the Smokies during that time that claimed they saw what they believed to be a man basically carrying Dennis under his arm while other people reported hearing screaming. With that being said, that means that the establishment of feral people would have had to occur prior to 1969. Me personally, I don't feel like the drug epidemic really hit the United States hard enough prior to that time for somebody to flee into the Appalachian Mountains. Now, there were people living in the Appalachian Mountains, absolutely. But in my opinion, this is where we eliminate the idea of drug addicts just going to live off grid. Okay, from 1836 to 1839, the Cherokee Indians were removed from North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama. There were 16,000 from the Cherokee Nation removed from that part of Appalachia. There were also around between 1,000 and 2,000 of the Cherokee Nation's slaves removed during that time as well. However, the largest group left Tennessee in the late fall of 1838. The stories of livestock and children going missing in the Smoky Mountains really started in 1969. The question is, who are these feral people and where did they come from? Now, over the past several years, I have been doing a lot of research on this topic, and I have concluded that these feral people originated as a result of the Trail of Tears starting in 1836. I personally do not believe that these feral people are direct descendants of only Native Americans. I believe that they are a part of several different ethnic groups. I feel like that not only the settlers who came in that were drawn into this sort of awful treatment of other human beings, not only deserted from that group, but I feel like the Native Americans and as well as the Cherokees slaves also fled these groups to live within the Appalachian Mountains, because I can see on all sides of the coin people that are coming here looking for a better life being forced into a situation where they don't want to be, where they do not want to do this violence on other people, and as well as the Native Americans who considered this land sacred, that they refused to leave, and as well as the Native American slave group who would flee from that type of capture. I believe that it takes several generations of human beings living within the wilderness to revert back to full feral instincts. I don't feel like the people that are looking to go live off grid are, because they go in with the mindset that they are going to do this. They are going to go live off the land. That's a different mindset than if you are fleeing something. I don't feel like the drug addict side of this situation, I don't feel like drug addicts could accomplish that. I don't feel like they would be able to go into the wilderness and revert back to their natural instincts to survive. And I believe that this process takes several generations of breeding in order to accomplish this. Now, this is kind of where the inbreeding aspect of feral people comes in. So if we think about it as small groups fleeing during the early 1800s into the Appalachian Mountains, there are only a certain amount of breeding possibilities that could occur prior to an inbreeding situation starting to happen. I don't feel like these feral people are looking to be found at all. I believe that they have mastered their craft just like any other animal in the forest. Now, if you go into the Appalachians, for example, there have been tales of mountain lions and black panthers being passed down. However, we don't have really any documentation of these mountain lions or black panthers being out there, within the past several decades. If you look into that feral mindset, and you go back to that predatory state, they are going to have that ability to completely avoid being seen. What's really interesting is that since I've started doing this, within the states of Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama, these are the states where these feral encounters are reported. Now, I'm not saying that they can only be here. It's a good possibility that over time, they traveled up through Virginia, and they definitely could be in that direction as well. These encounters directly correlate with the removal of Native Americans starting in 1836. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. I hope I kind of cleared up my stance as far as what exactly I'm looking for, where I believe that this is happening, and how this situation happened. Now, I'm going to be continuing doing my investigations. I have something that I have been working on for over a year now, putting together, that is finally starting to come to fruition, and I am super excited to share these adventures with you. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Definitely give this video a like. It helps the channel significantly. And I hope I clear out and define exactly what my research has shown to explain these feral people. So, until next time.